Hi, this is Johan, back with another video for you, and this time we will go for case number 3, and it's titled The 1969 Alien Encounter, and also we'll supply with another case, case number 4. And this case is Swedish Army officer experiences landing and EM effects. So, today I will provide you with 2 stories. Let's start with the 1969 alien encounter. Mr. Kjell Neslund had a strange experience on the 12th of March 1969. Kjell is the director of the transmitting station on Hemliden, and on this evening he was working alone at the station at 6 o'clock. For some reason the alarm sounded, indicating a fault in the transmitter somewhere. This went on until about 6:30 p.m. when Kjell felt that he had to go outside for some reason. Once outside he beheld a massive object about 150 meters across, 5 to 6 meters high, and with a fuzzy outline to it only 50 meters from the building. A greyish blue light was emanating from a tunnel leading inside the object, and beside it and inside the tunnel Kjell could see about 10 box-like things that resembled clouds without solid edges, all of them floating just above the ground. He estimated them as 135 centimeters. It was the height of the object, 135 centimeters. Kjell wanted to phone for the police, but for some reason was unable to do so. In fact, he couldn't even move. 7 or 6 boxmen floated into the station, and although they passed right next to Kjell, he couldn't touch them, for he was immobilized. He had the feeling that inside these boxes there were creatures and that they were protecting themselves, possibly from the environment. He also felt that he could stay calm, for his visitors were not dangerous. The boxmen didn't move quickly and floated along at the same speed as a walking person. 5 to 10 minutes later, the creatures completed their inspection and were sucked into the tunnel, which closed behind the last one. The craft then disappeared to the north. After the craft disappeared, Kjell was free to move again. He then called a policeman, Hans Hagblad in Trehörningsjö, a place nearby, who took the report seriously. However, personnel at the Sundvall transmitting station only laughed at Kjell's report to them. This was the shortest story so far. Just Mr. Kjell Neslund's experience. He actually experienced cloud-like boxes that floated from a tunnel in the middle of the UFO towards the station, the transmitting station, and actually floated inside the transmitting station. And he was just standing, paralyzed, watching the whole thing. Actually called the police, and wow. If this is a true story, I would like to go there sometime. Hemliden Mountain. Should do some investigation into this mountain. Sounds like a hotspot for UFO, right? Should try it one day. Should go there. Absolutely. But anyways, I will read you one more story when I'm at it. This is a Swedish Army officer's experiences landing and EM effects. Is the headline. The interviewer is Mr. Boris Ljungqvist, and it was published in 1977. Alright, a Swedish Army officer's experience, and it goes like this. At 22:30 hours on Saturday, September the 21st of 1974. My phone rang. A shaken voice at the other end of the line declared that he and his family had witnessed a UFO land just half an hour before. Since the witness is an officer of high rank with the Swedish army, he and his family prefers not to let their names be known. I now quote from the questionnaire he filled in. In company of my family, wife and 2 children, I had paid a visit with a good friend at his summer cottage near Knutby in the province of Uppland. We were going home along the gravel road in our Audi. As we entered a long stretched curve, we spotted a blinding light ahead of us. I dimmed the headlights, believing it was a car coming from the opposite direction. When we entered the straight stretch following this curve, we saw, however, a remarkable flying object coming towards us. The distance was then about 900 meters. Engine, headlights and radio dies. Look, Dad! A helicopter! Isn't it low flying? My daughter cried out. Seconds later, we were sure this was not a helicopter. The strange flying vehicle approached us slowly from a clearing to our right, at an altitude of about 10 meters. At the same moment, my engine started to cut and vibrate. About 100 meters further on, the car stopped completely, and the headlights died out. The car radio also went dead. The flying object passed the roadway ahead of us, distance now about 200 meters. It was still at some 10 meters altitude, but then seemed to land to the left of the road, some 75 meters from the roadway. The landing took place in front of a stack of fire logs. A large area was lit up by the blinding green shimmering light from the object. Still in our car, we were totally surprised by this unexpected sight. I winded down the side screen in spite of objections from my wife and children. Now we could hear a sound like that which comes from a swarm of bees. Immediately, all of us started to feel uneasy. None said a word for about a minute. My son handed to me the pair of binoculars we kept in the back seat. The flying object's intense green shimmering corona gradually dimmed, and consequently the size of the area, a radius of some 300 meters, which was bathed in a green luminance, decreased. Egg-shaped. Through our 7x50 binoculars, I clearly made out an egg-shaped structure, some 10 meters long and a few meters high. The object, which by now was intensely white, had a smooth surface with no projections of any kind. My excited wife wanted us to leave the place. Several times I tried to start the engine by turning the key, but it wouldn't work. I must admit that by now I was frightened by this meeting with something supernatural. After a few minutes, despite warnings from wife and children, I left the car. The object seemed to rest or hover immediately above the Earth's surface. I was just rounding the car, intending to open the bonnet. I did not connect our engine stoppage to the presence of the object. Then we heard a deafening roar, believing there was a hazard of an explosion. I threw myself down behind the car and cried to my family, "Take cover!" My children and wife, now shaking of fear, rushed out and took cover beside me. Thus we had the body of the car between us and the object. The object took off slowly, like a V-tool aircraft, and with a rocking motion. Once again it took on its green shimmering color, and the surroundings were lit up. It wobbled slightly and flew off slowly. Altitude now some 30 meters to the same direction as it had come from when we first saw it. It flew with a wave-like motion a few hundred meters, emitting a low, droning sound like the sound of a swarm of bees. A few seconds later it accelerated to an unbelievable speed and disappeared in a thousandth of a second. Wow. What a great story. Let's continue. Restart without trouble. We were alone, speaking all at the same time. I was searching for my binoculars in the dark and found them quickly. Shaken by what we had seen, we entered the car and we immediately noted the music playing from the radio. The radio worked, and as I turned the start key, our car started and there was nothing wrong with our headlights. It took us quite some time to recover. We were completely certain that we had experienced something unique. Coming home, I dialed the number of a fellow officer, but changed my mind and put down the receiver. Instead, I called the directory inquiry service and got the number of your organization. In view of my positions with the military forces, I have decided against reporting this incident to the police or military authorities. During my years of living, I have many times smiled amusedly of stories about flying saucers. Since this incident, I and my family agree that such objects are for real. No traces. After an initial 20-minute conversation over the phone, I was so intrigued by the case that a meeting was settled for 09:30 hours in the morning of the following day, Sunday. My wife and I took our car and visited the family. Accompanied by the officers and his wife, we went to the landing area at about 10. Expecting traces in the field, I had brought my camera along. Quite mysteriously, however, there were no traces or imprints to be found. Near the roadway, we found a button the officer's wife had lost from her coat as she drew herself out of the car. From this position, we made measurements of the area. The egg-shaped UFO must have hovered or landed some 80 meters from where the car was parked. Before going home, the officer's family invited us for a lunch, when we had a lively conversation about the incident. In the questionnaire, which arrived about 1 week later, they reported slight headaches and diarrhea, starting some 30 hours after the sighting. These symptoms remained for 3 days. This case must be classified as a genuine encounter with an unidentified flying object. The next case I will read for you is from Norway. Finally, there is a case from Norway. But it will be lots more cases. This is titled The Fantastic UFO Experience of Reidar Salvesen at Helleland. So this is a close encounter at Helleland. It's a place between Stavanger and Kristiansand of southern Norway. So yeah, I do realize I have a really thick Norwegian accent. But I hope it's okay, and I hope you can understand me. So, anyways, hope you liked the story, and see you again soon.